Hi, intrepid viewers. Hello, also trendsetters. Wherever you are in the world, you've found this channel. That's awesome. I'm Lena, Doctor of Sociology, aka Queen of Snark. If you want warm and fuzzy, probably not your channel. Australians are pretty blunt. Okay. So let's dive in. Now, let's start with the good news. The good news is I think, what is it? 222 lawsuits have been launched. I don't know the breakdown of all of those, but 222 of them. That's good news. Also, there was a raid, FBI raid on some GOP operative down the greasy pole to do with computer malfeasance. Naughty. But the most exciting news is talk of a recount. Now, I can't actually believe this. What I read was Kamala Harris is raising money for a recount. They are the government still for another 60 days. It's not a Girl Scouts jamboree, where you have to buy the scones to pay for a new toilet block. What? Remember all the money that was poured out of the public coffers for the GOP recounts. It shouldn't be a question of money. However, it appears to be. So that's going on. In the meantime, of course, the heavyweight governors in California, Illinois, and New York are doing their best to Trump-proof their states. So they're having talks. And so there is movement afoot. I'm into that. But let me tell you something. When I was on Hogarth's channel, which is Saturday Night Live, 7 p.m. EST every week, on the Hogarly channel, I said, I got this weird flash, and I said, Biden might actually step aside, make her president for the last run, and let her take it on her way, for the last 30 days or something. And I thought that was strange. We all thought it was strange. However, I got sent by several viewers this morning a link that Jamal Simmons, who's an aide for Kamala, is requesting Biden step aside and let Kamala be president. And that would mess with their heads, if nothing else. I think the Dems need to become more disruptive. So polite, you know. So we might get around to that. I want to look at Jack Smith's filing, which apparently is without prejudice. The idea is this massive document dump. Now, there's a twist in the tale. The Yeti, as that particularly repulsive man is known on this channel, the Yeti is mulling over names for chief of staff. Top of the list was Susan Wiles. Problem is, she's just turned up in Jack Smith's documents. And according to Midas Touch or Legal AF, that are my go-tos, and I'm sure you guys are all familiar with them, the way she's mentioned in the indictments would indicate she's already had full and frank discussions. So this doesn't make any sense. Isn't it mad? All right, well, let's kick off with Jack Smith. Oops. With Jack Smith and the documents, will it have any impact or not? You know, we are not in normal times. Stay strong, guys. Okay, I'm just going to do it on the atmosphere around Jack Smith and the documents. Let's see what turns up here. Jack Smith and the documents. Let's go. Well, I'm pleased to report these are not hopeless cards, right? We're coming from a really low base. As soon as the Yeti appeared to win this election, we all had a collective stomach lurch about this, but little bit of hope. So in the centre, this is money going round and around, powerful money, not surprising. This hasn't come out of nowhere. So he's up against these massively powerful people. He personally, look, put it this way, he's determined that something will come of this. Something will come of this. I just had a thought. Look, I'll get to that in a moment. He's waiting for the dust to settle, waiting for your ships to come in, right? With this Three of Wands. But it can also be sending your ships out. What can they acquire and bring back? And that's my vibe on this spread, is that he's putting feelers out in secret about a new approach. Now, he knows, he's a grown-up, that all these related cases are seemingly dead in the water. But hasn't got there yet. He's looking for a new approach. This is someone who's extremely direct and courageous. And in this case, being prepared to make this jump that possibly he would not have made ever under normal circumstances. And my vibe is he's getting international advice. Is there something that they've contravened internationally that becomes more of an issue? Now, we know he was kicking back in Mar-a-Lago. Saying to people, have you seen these classified documents? Have you seen this? This is what I said to Putinska, and this is what China said to me. And, we know that was his behaviour. So there could, in fact, be something international. Bear in mind, he has experience in The Hague. So I don't know if there's anything to that, but we'll hold the beacon of hope for now, even if it's on low wattage. Right. Okay. Now, people have asked me about, will there be violence? And so we'll have a look at that. I mean, the Fred Flintstones have won, so I don't know. Let's have a look. I think people are particularly worried around January when he gets sworn in and the inauguration. Let's see. Should people be worried about violence? Let's have a look. Look, there's a little bit of what we in Australia call argy-bargy. Now, argy-bargy is a great term, and it doesn't have an American equivalent. It comes from the UK. That's where we got argy-bargy. And it's like, when guys pump up their chests and do that rutting elk thing, but nothing actually comes of it, that's argy-bargy, right? And that's what I'm seeing here. So I think they've got this Six of Swords card. They think they're going to a better place, but if you look carefully at the image in this card, sometimes this aspect is more relevant than other times. They're carrying all their garbage with them, literally, in the form of they're not quite getting away with it. The moon means things are very nefarious and undercover and under the sort of under the radar stuff. Yes, there could be, but we all know that the US is an extremely violent country anyway. 11,000 Americans are killed every year, not by rampant Mexicans, but by other Americans. Right? Okay, so there will be something out there, but these cards aren't cataclysmic. Queen of Pentacles, I think this is an energy of they will be calmed down. But look at this, they'll actually be caught up themselves somehow. It could be an untoward thing and they get caught up themselves in their own violence or something a bit weird, bit of a twist in the tale. But this can also be the card of self-sacrifice. And so, they're mad as a cut snake. I never knew where that expression comes from, but I grew up with it. So they see themselves, as the warriors of God or the warriors of whatever. But it's like there's an immaturity with the Knight of Swords, who's also the vengeful knight, the jealous knight. So there'll be something, but I'm not getting awful, awful stuff. Now, what's going on here? Back to the good news column. Joe Biden has appointed 44 federal judges. I don't think it's gone far enough, in my humble Australian opinion. Merrick Garland, why is he still there? Don't waste another 50-something days with this man at the helm. I know it's not typical to change an AG at the last 5 minutes of an administration. I get that. But nothing's normal about these times, and it's time to have a bit of a pushback. Freak them out a bit. Attorney generals can be massively powerful because we all remember after 2 years of the Mueller investigations at the highest level, Bill Barr took approximately 3 to 7 minutes to undermine that entire investigation. Because he was AG. And then because they only are hypocrites, went around America going, this guy is crazy and dangerous. Really? Mm-hmm. Okay, so let's have a look. Oh, and before I finish this podcast, I have to tell you about the Hawaii retreat. We've got to have things to look forward to. Okay, just while I'm shuffling here, another question I'm asked, will the Jan 6 convicts be asked to pay for their pardons? Wouldn't that be typical? Because remember, at the end of the last regime of horror, I think there was a standard price. I think it was 100,000 for a pardon. Will he actually charge for pardons? Will he charge for pardons? That has to contravene something. But of course, the legal system's on its knees. Can you believe, I digress. Can you believe it's only a week since the dreaded event? It's only a week. It seems years, doesn't it? Let me share the story of this ring with you. This ring was made for me by a dreamer. Gracias. And our hearts go out. Okay. What will he do? Not only will he begin the deportations, I don't think it'll go into millions. They haven't got the infrastructure, but it'll still be stressful, fearful, and dreadful. But also the 14th Amendment. He will end birthright citizenship. He's such a fascist. Where were we? Pardons. Will he charge? Just a yes, no. Let's see. Oh, well, shuffling, shuffling, shuffling. Look what came up again. Okay. So he's strategizing. He knows he's got the power now over all those people. So he's going to have all those people at his behest. What's left of the Democratic government in the US is going to tut tut. The president's not supposed to charge for pardons. Spare us all the mewling, the hypocrisy, the ineffectual challenges. If they'd done him for the emoluments clause on day two about having everyone internationally staying at his hotels, milking the country all these years for his Secret Service detail to stay at his properties, if they'd acted on that on day two, we would be in a very different situation in the world. But this, in regard to pardons, I think he's going to want to, but there might be some, it might be seen to be a bridge too far, possibly for the actual J6 boots. But I don't think he's made up his mind yet. He would rather be paid than not paid because he actually only exists in relation to his checkbook that day. Nothing else matters to this buffoon. All right, now a very big question coming up now about tariffs. Tariffs used to be boring, not anymore. We, the world, are impacted by this lecherous, felonious cretin's ideas on the economy. We are all impacted. China is our biggest trading partner, right? Now, he's talking about 10 to 20% on everything from everywhere and 60% on Chinese goods. It's actually the most gobsmackingly stupid idea I've heard in the last 35 years. There's a reason why people don't do it. And that's because everything costs more to the domestic consumer, A. B, it leads to trade wars. So you remember the soybean saga, right? Oh, I'm putting a tariff on China. And they said, great, well, we won't buy your soybeans. And he almost destroyed the soy farming industry. And these are guys who voted for him. And so the most Googled term in the last few days is what is a tariff? And so at least people are starting to realize um, it doesn't work. And so it will lead to a trade war, I would imagine. I can't believe his money people would actually let him go ahead with this. It is stunning. So if you reduce the amount of money also that China is receiving, um, it has less to spend getting its imports in, which is from us. We're a commodity economy. They buy our coal and steel and copper and iron ore and all that sort of. Thanks, America. Just so stupid and selfish. And anyway, let's have a look at the tariffs because they're going to impact all of you guys. Let's have a look at tariffs. Will he do it? Will they be big? Right, let's have a look. Oh, the Queen of Pentacles is having a big outing today. All right. Now, like I said, you can't tell me the real billionaires and everyone else are happy with tariffs. China could well say, well, we're not taking your um, parts for this, that, and the other. We'll get them from Brazil and other countries. Judgment will come down on him, I think, from within the financial world. But is it enough to stop him? I'm glad you asked because I don't think so. For him, this is an emotional issue. It's not to do with economics at all because he couldn't read a spreadsheet if his life depended on it. Never has had to, never could, never did, never worked a day in his life. And I'm sorry, but counting your money and bullying people does not constitute work. So this is the very emotional Queen of Cups here. These two cards recurred together, and I'd put them in the pack separately as I was talking to you. So I think the soft version is he could rethink this and come up with a new idea and pretend it's his idea not to have tariffs or just stop talking about them because that's very Trumpy. Get in on one thing and never mention it again. But I think he's more likely to go off the cliff with this. Money, money, money. He sees it as a way to grow the internal economy only because he has the wherewithal and the worldliness of your average 6-year-old. So he sees it as a plus. Now, this is my card for the good things about the USA. Speaking of dreamers, bless. Oh, God. I think, you know what I think? I think let him do his worst. Sorry, because you will be impacted and I will be impacted and everyone will be impacted. But it's like people have to see with all these new right-wing parties in power, they have no real policies. It's all about vengeance and hate and resentment and stirring up trouble. So none of them have policies that work. They got Brexit in, which has caused a massive decline in the British economy. And it takes 4 or 5 years for it to really percolate through. But I think the impact of some of these will be immediate. And people may resent it and they may wake up to it and they might think this isn't right. Imagine that. Imagine that. One has to have hope. Dare to struggle, dare to dream. All right. Now, guys, I am doing workshops in Hawaii in March next year with Jen Bushman. You should check out her website if you haven't. And Dave from Moonride. And when we talked about this, probably a month or 6 weeks ago, or whenever we started talking about it, it was going to be a celebration, of course. Now, this retreat is even more important than we realized. So we will be doing workshops on all sorts of things, and it's all on Jen's website, and I will pin that to the comments. Right. But just briefly, not cheap. Sorry about that. Not cheap, but it does include 6 nights accommodation at the Outrigger in Waikiki and 6 workshops and a big luau feast and all of that. So we're hoping, if this goes well, we'll do some more stateside and maybe with different pricing down the track. So this one's not cheap, but it will be quite amazing. And so I'm so looking forward to that. We can only fit 50 people in. I think it's 50 or 52 or something. So have a look. And if that's in your wheelhouse, it'll be great if you could join us. Okay. So take care. And I'll see you next time. All right. For new viewers, I post every 4 days usually. Tomorrow I'm going interstate, but I will be recording again in 4 days. Don't want to burn out. Got to be here for the long haul. Take care, guys. Bye.